Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. It's your incredibly lazy host, Street Urchin here. I found out recently that my grandfather George passed away. Before we get 100 comments giving me your condolences, I met the man 3 whole times, and each time he wasn't overly fond of conversation. Supposedly he had 4 children in total, 3 of which are roughly the same age. I'll let you figure out what that means. My mother is his daughter, and she's slated to gain a fairly sizable inheritance, of which I'm likely to see none of it as we are also relatively estranged, and not exactly on the best of terms. As you might know, my mother is an INTJ. Very strict, very aggressive, very focused. As long as I've known her, she's spent her life focusing on career, elevation, and the accumulation of financial gains. And no matter what obstacles she encountered or put in her own way, she overcame them with brute force and dedication. This is particularly noteworthy considering she grew up in a large trailer house out in the sticks, her family living largely on food stamps and charity. But this recent death in the family got me thinking, how does she keep getting these W's? In this instance, you could say, well, that was out of her control, her father left a large inheritance, but she wouldn't be getting anything if she didn't take the time out to talk with him, keep herself vaguely relevant in his life. It didn't matter if she felt jilted out of not being raised by her biological father. She didn't care if he wasn't interested enough to make the effort to get to know her. Her mind was focused on one singular aspect: acquire more money. And it worked, of course. Having these simple goals in life gained her connections, experience, accolades, which continues even now to keep her dominating whatever field she's currently in. Which brings us to today's topic of why INTJ females always win. A lot of what I will say could apply to both male and female INTJs, but as everyone on my channel should know, men and women are not the same. They both enjoy and suffer from their own biological advantages and weaknesses. On this particular subject, I'll also be mentioning how INTJ females use their particular advantages in regards to society. So maybe a minor trigger warning, but as I've said a number of times, I teach practical MBTI, things that can be used, regularly observed, relatable information. So let's start with what gives them this incredible drive and focus. Well, that's introverted intuition, of course. I don't know how many more times I can say it. When in the lead position, it acts as a persistent frame of mind that generates plans, goals, ambitions for the user. This is not something they can turn off. Every decision they make needs to benefit them in some way. INTJs have a fair bit of flexibility when determining what that benefit could be. Some ideas may require monetary gains, other ideas may simply require feeling good about it, but in all scenarios they need to justify how it's a good idea for them to do it. After great or little consideration, if it does not meet the standards, the idea is thrown out. This is an automatic process that the INTJ does not need to consciously be aware of. Living life in this manner is just normal to them. They sometimes have difficulty understanding why so many other people don't live life in a similar fashion. This is because the INTJ doesn't have a strong preference for functions that involve the perspectives of others, a major one being extroverted intuition. And given how miserable life has become for most people in the US, they often don't believe they have the time or energy to be thinking about others. It actually exhausts them to focus on things that aren't a direct benefit to them, which can give them a rather prickly demeanor from time to time. A word to the wise, be on their good side, have them see you as an asset rather than a burden, and they will be able to help you with maybe a job position in the future or something. So because of all this forward thinking, they're able to prioritize their success, plan it out, then follow through with the tasks. And they certainly don't let anyone or anything stand in their way. There is no such thing as an obstacle too great or I'm too tired. And the one excuse they hate the most, there's nothing I can do. That one might get you smacked around a little. The next part starts to really incorporate the female aspect of being an INTJ, extroverted thinking. As I've stated multiple times, extroverted thinking is manifested as acquiring widely accepted facts, knowledge, etc. The more commonly accepted as correct, the more likely they are to believe it's true. When they get information, they want it to be from a licensed physician, PhD certified professionals, popular news outlets, things that everyone believes or knows to be true. In this day and age, you will not find a single INTJ that believes in flat earth theory, because 1, very few people believe it's true and are considered weirdos by the masses, and 2, they're not going to take time out of their day to find evidence that flat earth theory might be correct. It would be an incredible waste of time that could have been spent on furthering their career. So you see where that's going. So in their persistent quest to obtain knowledge for themselves, they also come across certain colloquially accepted truths that shape how they're going to succeed in life. Female INTJs learn that being physically attractive can gain them a great deal of favor, wider selection of opportunities, so on and so forth. So it's very normal for them to incorporate exercise into their lives. Most common I found was jogging and or being on some type of diet. They want a level of attractiveness to gain positive attention, and whatever most people think works, that's what they're going to go with. At the end of the day, they have a strong grasp of what works in general, very knowledgeable, very calculating, and they try to marshal all advantages they have to keep them propelling towards their end goals, whatever they may be. This also includes learning about career opportunities with low competition, signing up for female-only grants, anything they can do to gain an advantage or the upper hand. Next up is their feelings to balance out all that extroverted thinking. Over the past 10 years of study, I have found this to be true of anyone with introverted feeling in the third position. Whether INTJ or ISTJ, whether male or female, they all seem to have anger issues. I don't mean they're angry all the time, but when something doesn't go their way, they get angry first. In many cases, the only negative emotion they may let you see is anger. I don't know if they're all actually angry or they learned that being angry attempts to display a level of authority or power. I really don't have a solid answer on that. I just know that they get angry. Female INTJs are absolutely no exception to this whatsoever. But there is a positive to angrily defending their values and morals. It creates boundaries with people around them. People are far less likely to attempt taking advantage of an INTJ female. They want to prove to both themselves and society that they are not to be trifled with. They sometimes go a little overboard with that concept. In one particular case, an INTJ I know personally assaulted her 100 pounds heavier, 1 foot taller husband after he found out she was embezzling money from him, even attempting to sever the phone line while he was on call with 911, because she understood that he wouldn't strike her back. Now, that's a pretty extreme example, and I hope to never learn of a worse one, but if you're interfering with an INTJ woman's plans, expect severe consequences, even more so if you're essentially threatening to end her livelihood, which in certain circumstances can be physical violence, but more often than not, it will be financial consequences, as they often do their best to be in financial control of their situations. Got dark for a second, but we're moving on to the last function, extroverted sensing. Starts off with dismissing what's going on right now and focusing on where they're going. But as they start to mature, they begin to recognize its importance to their plans. As I mentioned before, they care about their physical capabilities in the world around them. For the INTJ female, they want to maintain being healthy and looking their best. The fewer problems they have with their body, the harder they can push it. It also helps finalize their overall identity, so they can say to themselves, I am focused, I am dedicated, I work hard both mentally and physically, and you can see how much better I am than you. That's like the INTJ creed right there. So why do INTJ females keep winning? It's because they're focused, they're driven, don't take shit from anyone, always looking forward, and are natural strategists. If you're looking for someone to hang on to while they're climbing to the top, you will not find anyone better suited than an INTJ. If you're someone looking to have an INTJ female for a relationship, I do hope you got a steel jaw. But that's it for today's video. I hope you had fun. Remember that a lot of these traits are things that apply naturally to an INTJ, but it might be worth it to try and emulate some of them and see if you can, make them work for you. Movie Saturday starts at 12 p.m. PST, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!